I called you when things started to come undone. It's better to have professionals handle it, said Capros to Dora and Guy. Uh-huh, Dora remarked. She wasn't sure if he was telling the truth and wasn't sure if she cared. The three kindreds stepped into the elevator. When the door slid shut, Capros dropped his illusion. He always held a mystical veil over his face that gave him the impression that he was a good-looking, well-dressed Caucasian gentleman. But with the mask faded away, he looked like a monster in a suit. His face white as chalk, head bald as snakes, and eyes red as rats. Dora was 6'2", with muscles bigger than most men. She wore camouflaged army fatigues, combat boots, and a cut-off army shirt that showed off her physique. But even she flinched when Capros showed his hideous secret. Capros only dropped his disguise to see what Dora's reaction would be. He had an aversion to being predictable. Guy didn't move in the slightest. He wasn't the type of person to have human reactions. Capros knew. He had tested him a few times, and his reaction had high probabilities of producing no effect with the stimulus presented. Capros just kept up the conversation while on their way up. I've had my eye on these people since they checked in. Something was weird about them. Then the cream started turning on this floor, said Capros. If it gets worse, then we may have a Promethean on our hands, Guy said. A few. There were 5 of them, Capros corrected. He wore a white casual suit. If he stood next to a snowbank, he could virtually disappear. Guy was an unkempt man with short hair, stubble, and eyes that drooped as if they didn't sleep. He wore a backpack and jeans. Why now? Dora asked as the elevator doors spread apart. I got a few noise complaints, and I really don't think I have the sort of firepower to handle it, whatever they may be, Capros said while slowing down his march. So basically you want us to take all the risks so you don't have to, Dora said gruffly. You don't have to get so defensive. Such a lovely woman doesn't need to form worry lines on her face, Capros said with a disturbing smile. He had never addressed her under those terms before, and he was excited to see how she'd react. If he were to give it odds, he'd think that there was about a 65% chance she'd lash back and see it as condescending. 20% chance she'd ignore it altogether, and a 15% chance she'd accept it. Don't dick with me, this isn't a game. What's in there? What are you getting us into? Dora said. Capros nodded and reached his hand into his pocket to retrieve a coin. He supposed that she'd get defensive from his past experiences. Most people didn't stray from their nature. 2 women, 3 men, they all look like emo kids. What else? They've been here a day, and there is the cream situation, said Capros while rolling his coin in his fingers. The Nosferatu's phone rung. Before he answered it, he turned to Guy and Dora. I called Anderson Martyr too, just in case. Then he picked up. It's me, Capros said when he picked up the phone. He left himself open for an insult, but there was a 75% chance that Martyr would chuckle, then move on to business. It's me too. Do you still need help with that thing? Said a silky smooth voice on the other end. Yeah, I need you. What floor are you on? Said Anderson from the other end of the line. 12th floor. We'll wait for you. I'm here with Dora and Guy. Alright, I'm here, said Anderson, walking from the window towards the trio, ending his phone call. Nobody asked how he was everywhere at once, but they sure were thinking it. Anderson was 6'5" with an athletic build. His suit was casual and light blue. His sunglasses were black, his hair tapered off at the shoulders, and he coolly walked with his hand in his pocket as if modeling his clothes. Hello all, what seems to be the situation here, said Martyr. He had a presence like a school headmaster sitting in on a class. Even though he hadn't taken control of the situation, he still seemed as if he were in charge. He said there were 5 suspicious characters that checked in that he had a bad feeling about. They seem to be turning all the cream bad and making some sort of noise. Guy thinks they may be Prometheans, Dora said, to sum it all up, showing Anderson that she had everything in hand. Prometheans, that doesn't sound good. Marta said calmly while retrieving a lighter from his pocket for no particular reason. Anderson sparked it to life. The kindred there watched the flame in anticipation for something. The brilliant orange flame burned a bright blue. "I think you may have witches, old school wishes," he clarified. "Should we call the liaison?" Capros asked. Suddenly, a yell broke out down the hallway. "I don't think we're going to have time," Anderson explained. The kindred ran to the disturbance, but by the time they got to the door, the sharp shriek had dissipated. "I only hear one person breathing shallow," Marta whispered to the others. He removed his sunglasses, putting them away. "I hear it too," Guy said to Anderson. Capros flipped his coin, caught it, then slid it into his pocket. Dora clapped authoritatively to Guy. He readily tossed her his backpack. Dora took out a blade with symmetrical patterns on the edge. She then took a pistol and tucked it under her shirt. She tossed the bag back to Guy. "You got anything in there for me?" Capros asked. "Why aren't you packing? You have more of a peaceful worldview than I expected," Dora said to the ghost white Nosferatu. "If you guys want to wait, I won't blame you," Anderson whispered. "We're going," Dora said, taking Anderson's word as condescending. "It's your hotel. Kick it in or knock," Anderson asked Capros. The Nosferatu took out a penny, flipped it, then caught it in the air. He didn't live his life all on the flip of a coin, but when he had decisions that he didn't care about one way or the other, he did like to let probability decide. Capros took a look at the coin, then put it in his palm and kicked the penny off with his finger. Anderson nodded, then looked to Guy and Dora to make sure they were ready. Marta retrieved a blade from the folds of his suit vest. He slammed his foot into the door, kicking it off the hinges. The first thing they noticed was the smell of blood. After the initial surprise died down, Capros spoke. "Why?" The scene was horrific. There were pieces of human bodies simmering in a sea of blood, with a painted pentagram on the rug. Guy licked his lips at the sight of all the blood. Slowly yet deliberately, he clutched Dora's ass. "What the fuck, Guy?" said the Amazon woman. In a fit of rage, she gripped Guy's wrist and snapped it with one hand. "Damn it, Guy, I really think you like it when I hurt you. Go watch the door," Dora said angrily. Guy swallowed. He couldn't control himself. He wanted her so bad, and with all that blood, he had to act on his impulses. Guy didn't say a word to defend himself. He just did what he was told. Capros and Anderson didn't comment on the incident and didn't want to. Anderson kneeled down and took the plastic bags from a tiny hotel wastebasket and wrapped it around his shoes. He approached a female so bloody he couldn't make out her face. Her breaths were labored, and it was obvious that she only had a few minutes more left in her. Anderson thought to ask her questions when he stooped down to her level. He decided to let her last moments be sacred. He watched as she breathed her last breath and the lights went out. He closed her eyes. Anderson looked at the marks on the body. They were all teeth marks, blunt teeth marks, like human teeth. Marta opened the dead woman's mouth and her teeth were stained red with blood. He checked them all one by one. They ate each other. Marta said while shaking his head in disgust, "This isn't a masquerade issue. It's just kinda fucked up." "You wanna let humans handle this?" Marta asked the Nos. Capros stood at the edge of the door, cautious not to get a drip on his white suit. "We can handle it. I don't need the press in here turning this into a circus," Capros said. "Well, it still isn't as bad as New Orleans. I heard they had a breach so big they had to blow up an entire hotel to cover it," Dora said while inspecting an errant leg. "I hear that they're having all sorts of problems down there. They've been through 4 princes in 3 years," Anderson said offhandedly. "You'd think they get the hell out of there. What's the point, really?" Dora said as if she had only a passing interest. "Hold on, I have a cousin down there. They didn't ask for that shit," Capros said. Though that statement raised a lot of questions about Capros' personal life, no one was prepared to trudge through it. And nobody asked him to elaborate on it. Anderson took the plastic bags from his feet. "You got this, Dora?" Marta asked. "I could use some help." I figure that you're a better sheriff than me, so you should have the honor, Martyr said with a devilish smirk. Dora smiled. You're a dick, Martyr. I know, Anderson said with a winning smile while putting his sunglasses back on and stepping out.